My name is Samantha Reed. I'm 29, and I like my life measured, scheduled, and controlled. Color-coded calendars, perfectly timed coffee breaks, spreadsheets that map out everything from rent to groceries. Life makes sense that way. But my family has never cared for sense. They care about appearances, expectations, and who holds the most sway at the dinner table. That evening, I walked into my parents' living room carrying a gift basket I had carefully assembled. My sister Rebecca was already perched on the edge of the sofa, grinning like she'd just won a game. "Sit down," she said, her voice syrupy, hiding some satisfaction I didn't yet understand. I hadn't even taken off my coat. The family group chat said there was a meeting at 6, but gave no hint why. Now, standing there, I felt like a fool holding a basket that suddenly seemed like a peace offering in enemy territory. My mother, Margaret, gave me a tight-lipped smile from the armchair. My father, Thomas, sipped wine on the couch, looking far too comfortable for someone about to deliver bad news. My younger brother, Ethan, scrolled on his phone by the window, pretending he wasn't listening. "What is this?" I asked slowly. My stomach clenched. "Did someone die?" "No," my father said, placing his glass down with a little too much ceremony. We had a vote." "A vote?" I echoed. "You're out," he said flatly. "We decided it's best if you don't come to Tuscany next month." The room went silent. My chest tightened. "You're joking." "No," Rebecca said, practically glowing. "We just think it's better for the group dynamic." I let out a short, sharp breath through my nose. "Group dynamic?" "You're always so tense," Rebecca continued, casually. "Last year, remember how you argued with the waiter over the service charge? You embarrassed Mom because they added an extra $80 to the bill." I snapped. I was the only one who noticed. "You're welcome, by the way." Margaret's voice cut in, soft and uneasy. "We just want peace this year." She didn't meet my eyes. I looked at all three of them. These were the people I had booked flights for, sent reminders about, and even fronted the villa deposit for. They'd asked me to cover it until Dad's bonus came in. $7,000 charged on my card. Same day they'd send me emojis like a thank you card. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You're kicking me out of the trip I planned and paid for?" "You offered," my father shrugged. "I didn't offer to be excluded." Rebecca crossed her legs like a judge delivering a verdict. "You've been uptight lately. All your little boundaries, your budgets, you've changed." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, I started saying no, and—" "This is supposed to be fun," she said, leaning back. "And honestly, you ruined the vibe." I repeated, incredulous. "Ruin the vibe? You mean I stopped you from drinking $18 spritzes on my card all day?" I shot back. "You're overreacting," Mom interjected. Don't make this ugly." "Oh, I won't," I said calmly, reaching for my phone. I opened the travel account link, the one for the Tuscany trip. Dad's phone buzzed on the coffee table. "What was that?" he muttered, picking it up. "That was me blocking the travel card," I said. "The one I used to book your tickets, the hotels, and the villa with the pool. You know, the one none of you paid me back for." "You can't do that," Rebecca hissed, standing up. "Oh, I can," I said. And I did. What are we supposed to do now? Ethan finally looked up, wide-eyed. "The trip's in 3 weeks. Figure it out." "You're so relaxed," Rebecca said. "Remember, manifest the money." "No, Mom," I said, my eyes locked on her. "I've stopped being your wallet." Thomas stood up, furious. "You're being spiteful." "No," I said, grabbing my keys. "I'm being done." And just like that, I walked out. The Tuscany dream was suddenly unpaid for, and they were stunned in their designer chairs, wine glasses trembling. They didn't just betray me. They conspired. That night, I lay awake in my apartment staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. 3 laughing emojis from Rebecca. I didn't respond. Around midnight, a text from Mom. "Don't let this ruin everything. We still love you. You just made the trip difficult." Difficult. Me. I paid for everything. I planned the 5-star villa, the pool, the chef, the vineyard tours. They begged me to. And now I was the problem. The next morning, the unraveling began. My cousin, Maya, called. "Hey, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" "How did you hear?" I asked, confused. "They posted about it," she said. "Instagram." I felt my blood run cold. My family had voted me out, lied about it, and were mocking me online. Maya continued, cautiously. "This isn't new. She's been saying things about you for months. Nasty stuff to everyone, saying you have money problems, that you beg to be included in the reunion, that you threaten to cancel if people don't praise you." I stood up, dizzy. She's been isolating me? Maya hesitated. I think so. I hung up without a goodbye. Hours later, I logged into my email. My flight itinerary for the whole family was still there. And that's when I saw it. Her seat had been upgraded to business class. Rebecca used my card 2 days ago. A quiet, sneaky $500. That was the final straw. I called the airline. Cancel all 4 tickets under my name, I said, teeth gritted. Yes, every last one, especially seat 3A. That evening, I went to my parents' house, not to argue, but to see their faces. When Mom opened the door, her smile faded. Oh, it's you, she said. Don't act surprised, I said. You posted enough online to draw a crowd. I walked into the living room. Thomas read his paper like it was 1985. Rebecca sat with her laptop. You'll need a new card, I said. She looked up. What? The travel card? Blocked the flights? Canceled the villa? Tuscany's off? You wouldn't... Oh, honey, I laughed darkly. You sabotaged it the second you cut me out. Thomas slammed his hand on the table. That's enough. You're destroying this family. You destroyed it, I said slowly. The second you voted me out, used my money, and let her spread lies about me. Rebecca stood, red-faced. You're unbelievable. You've always been bitter that I'm the one everyone listens to. Funny, I said, pulling a folded paper from my jacket. I just listened to your bank statement. Her eyes widened. Where did you get that? I smiled coldly. The card. And I finally printed the last 90 days of transactions. Spa packages, designer handbags. Oh, and a non-refundable deposit for a private yacht in Portano. You were planning a side trip? Mom stood up. Let's all calm down. You called me difficult for asking for receipts, I barked. Meanwhile, she's booking yachts on my account like royalty. Rebecca lunged forward, trying to grab the statement. You've gone too far. No, I said, I'm free. I froze her with one look. I reported fraud. There's an investigation underway. You're not just losing your vacation. You're about to lose your credit score. Get out. She screamed, face flushed. You're not part of this family anymore. Finally, I said, something we agree on. I turned to the door. Good luck explaining to the relatives why you're not in Italy next month, and why the police might call. They thought they could humiliate me quietly. I made noise. Loud, public, unforgettable noise. The next morning, I sat on my couch with coffee in hand, staring at my phone like it might explain the nightmare I'd woken into. The group chat was alive, but not with apologies. Rebecca had posted a boomerang, wine glasses clinking, a caption that read, when the toxic one finally removes herself, #reunion prep, #narcissist free. My chest tightened. They weren't just excluding me, they were mocking me publicly. Then came a call from Maya, my cousin, who had always been on the quieter side of the family drama. Samantha, I wasn't going to say anything, but this isn't new, she said. Her voice was hesitant, careful. I frowned. What isn't new? All the lies, the stuff about you having money problems, begging to be included, threatening the trip. She's been telling people for months. My stomach churned. You're saying they've been painting me as the villain this whole time? Yes, and I think she's trying to isolate you. I sank back into the couch, numb. For years, I'd thought I was just overreacting to their critiques, absorbing their criticism quietly. But now I saw a pattern, calculated, cruel, and persistent. I opened my laptop and logged into my email. My flight itineraries for the family were still there, but something made me click further. Rebecca's seat had been upgraded to business class 2 days ago, charged to my card. A quiet $1,500 slipped in while I was busy processing the family's drama. My hands shook. It wasn't just the upgrades. Hotel suites booked under my name, spa packages, fancy dinners. She'd been spending for months, pretending it was casual, all while I was painted as the problem. I felt a strange mix of rage and clarity. Rage because they were abusing my trust. Clarity because for the first time I could see the full extent of their manipulation. I spent hours going through my statements, printing receipts, noting timestamps, IP addresses, even delivery addresses. Each line of evidence told the same story. I'd been exploited quietly for years, and now they thought they could shame me publicly for setting boundaries. By evening, I made a decision. Calmly, deliberately. I called the airline. Yes, I'd like to cancel all 4 tickets under my name, every single one, especially seat 3A. The confirmation dinged in my inbox. Tuscany, the dream vacation my family had begged me to fund, they were out. I felt lighter than I had in months. Relief mixed with adrenaline. For the first time, I was acting not from fear or guilt, but from choice. Later, I went to my parents' house, not to argue, but to witness their reactions. Margaret opened the door. Her smile faltered instantly. "Oh, it's you," she said. "Don't act surprised," I said. "You posted enough online to draw a crowd." Inside, Thomas read the newspaper like it was irrelevant. Ethan hunched over his phone, pretending he wasn't involved. And there was Rebecca, laptop open, smug as ever. "You'll need a new card," I said flatly. "What? The travel card? Blocked the flights? Canceled the villa? Tuscany's off? You wouldn't—" she stammered. "Oh, honey," I said, letting the words hang. "You sabotaged it the second you cut me out." Thomas slammed his hand on the table. "Enough! You're destroying this family." "You destroyed it," I replied. "The second you voted me out, used my money, and let her spread lies about me." Rebecca's face twisted red. "You're unbelievable. You've always been bitter because I'm the one everyone listens to." I smiled coldly, pulling a folder from my jacket. "I just got access to your last 90 days of transactions. Spa packages, hotel suites, designer handbags, and oh yes, a non-refundable yacht deposit in Portano. I didn't even know about half of it." Her eyes widened. "Where did you get that?" "The card," I said simply. "The card you've been using behind my back. Every charge, every detail, every lie. And yes, I've documented it all." I let silence fill the room. The air was heavy, electric. For years they had called me difficult, uptight, dramatic. Now, for the first time, I could watch them squirm. I turned to Thomas. "This isn't about Tuscany anymore. It's about boundaries, honesty, and respect. And I'm done being the one who absorbs your chaos while you profit from it." Margaret's hands trembled. "Samantha, we thought you were overreacting." "Overreacting?" I repeated. "You've been gaslighting me, publicly shaming me, and stealing from me. And now I'm supposed to be the problem?" Ethan, my brother, finally spoke, voice low. "You're really going through with this?" "Yes," I said. "I've had enough." Rebecca lunged towards me, but I didn't flinch. I held up the evidence folder like a shield. "I reported fraud. There's an investigation underway. Tuscany is gone, your upgrades are gone, and your little plan to isolate me has failed. Get out." She screamed, face flushed. "You're not part of this family anymore." "Finally," I said, turning toward the door. "Something we agree on. Good luck explaining to the relatives why you're not in Italy next month, and why the authorities might call." As I walked away that night, something strange happened. I didn't feel angry. I felt alive. My silence, my restraint, my willingness to absorb their drama, it had been suffocating. Now I was no longer their puppet, their ATM, or their scapegoat. The isolation that had felt like punishment moments ago suddenly felt like clarity. I could see the web of lies, manipulation, and entitlement clearly for the first time. And I knew one thing. The next moves would be deliberate, calculated, and entirely in my control. A few days after freezing the travel card and canceling the Tuscany trip, I returned to my parents' house, but this time not to beg, not to argue, but to make them see. I walked through the door with calm certainty, carrying my tablet loaded with everything: receipts, screenshots, transaction records, even videos. Margaret opened the door, her smile tight and forced. "Oh, it's you," she said, the hesitation in her voice betraying her confidence. "Did you think this could stay quiet?" I asked softly, stepping inside. In the living room, Thomas read the paper like nothing had changed. Ethan sat by the window scrolling his phone while Rebecca had her laptop open, smug as if ready for battle. I set the tablet down on the coffee table and hit play. The first slide flashed. Rebecca using my card to upgrade her flight to business class. Next, a hotel receipt for a luxury suite under my name. Then, a video clip of her checking into a downtown hotel, laughing with her boyfriend, tapping my card. The room went completely silent. "What is this?" Margaret whispered. Rebecca sprang to her feet, swiping at the tablet. "This is a setup. You're manipulating everything." I held her gaze steadily. "Funny, the setup aligns perfectly with your spending history. Spa packages, yachts in Portano, designer handbags, all in my name. Timestamps, IP addresses, delivery addresses, everything documented." Her face drained of color. You promised to help us." "I did help, I paid, I bled, and you stole," I said, voice steady, every word measured. Thomas slammed his hand on the table. "That's enough. You're destroying this family." "You destroyed it," I said, leaning forward. "The second you called a vote to exile me, let her commit fraud, and backed her up while she lied about me to everyone. I'm not destroying anything. I'm exposing it. Rebecca's jaw tightened. You're pathetic. Oh, I'm just getting started, I said, pulling the final document from my jacket, the official fraud investigation notice from my bank. Ethan, who had been quiet the entire time, leaned forward. You really filed that? Yes, I said, and I gave her 1 week to pay it back. She didn't. Instead, she posted memes about me online. Rebecca looked from me to Ethan, incredulous. You're taking his side? Ethan didn't answer. I turned back to Rebecca, calm but merciless. You used my name to book yachts, suites, and upgraded flights. You mocked me online when I was betrayed. You thought this would stay quiet. It didn't. You're done. Margaret's voice trembled. Samantha, don't start. Don't. I'm done, I said coldly. No more being the silent sponsor, the problem child scapegoat. I'm done being used. Rebecca lunged towards me, like she might slap me, but I didn't flinch. I simply held up the evidence folder, unshakable. I've exposed everything. Tuscany is gone, the fraud investigation is underway, and your lies are public. Get out. She screamed, face red. You're not part of this family anymore. Finally, I said. Something we agree on. I turned toward the door. Good luck explaining to relatives why you're not in Italy next month, and why the authorities might call. Walking away that night, I felt alive. My anger had been channeled into clarity and action. I was no longer their puppet, their ATM, or their scapegoat. The aftermath was almost surreal. Day 1, my phone was eerily silent. No guilt trips, no manipulative messages, no desperate calls. Peace. I made coffee, opened the windows, let the sunlight in, and for the first time in years, I felt free. Day 2, the fallout began. My inbox exploded, not with my family, but with extended family, cousins, and friends who had seen Rebecca's now deleted Instagram posts and realized what had really been happening. Messages poured in. I'm so sorry we had no idea what you were dealing with. If you need a place to stay, our guest room is open. You're not alone. I always knew something was off about Rebecca, but this, thank you for standing up. One message stood out. Aunt Clara, my mother's older sister, who had once disowned Margaret over an inheritance fight 20 years ago, wrote, You did what none of us had the courage to do. You stood up to her. I'm proud of you. I didn't even realize I was crying until a tear hit the keyboard. By day 3, Rebecca collapsed publicly. Ethan called me at the gym. She's screaming at Mom and Dad, yelling that you humiliated her and destroyed her image. Everyone's blacklisting her now. I sat down on the bench, breathless. What about Brian? I asked, almost laughing. Ethan chuckled. He cut her off cold, won't date someone with fraud claims against them. The truth had a strange, satisfying weight. Rebecca, who had thrived on manipulation and entitlement, was now exposed, her carefully curated life unraveling. I realized something important. My strength hadn't come from fighting, but from standing still and letting truth and evidence speak for me. Weeks later, the new normal began. I moved into a brighter, bigger apartment, changed my number, canceled shared accounts, and reclaimed my life. The silence was comforting, the absence of drama freeing. Every time I felt the urge to reach back, I asked myself, would I set myself on fire again just to keep them warm? The answer was always the same, no. A few weeks after the confrontation, life felt quiet, almost surreal. The chaos that had ruled my family for years, lies, manipulation, and constant pressure, was gone. My apartment, bright and uncluttered, reflected the clarity I finally felt. I moved in with only what I needed, nothing borrowed, nothing shared. For the first time, every possession, every choice was mine. I changed my phone number, closed shared accounts, canceled subscriptions, and cut off the financial lifelines I had been guilted into providing. My freedom wasn't just emotional. It was tangible, practical, and irrevocable. At first, I was nervous about the silence. No angry texts, no guilt-tripping calls. I almost expected it to sting. But instead, I felt relief. I made coffee, opened the windows, played my favorite playlist, and danced like someone who had finally escaped a cage. The air was lighter, the light brighter, and for the first time, I felt alive without the weight of their expectations. Then the messages began. Extended family, distant cousins, even friends who had once been distant witnesses to the drama reached out. They had seen the evidence, read the posts, or simply realized that Rebecca's narrative had been false. I had no idea she was manipulating you all this time. I'm so sorry, Samantha. You're not alone. Come visit us anytime. I always felt something was off with Rebecca, but I never knew how deep it went. Thank you for standing up. One message stood out. Aunt Clara, my mother's older sister, the one who had disowned Margaret decades ago over money. You did what none of us ever had the courage to do. You stood up to her. I'm proud of you. I stared at it for a long time, tears welling, not just from validation, but from the realization that I had broken the cycle. I wasn't the one shrinking under pressure anymore. I wasn't the silent provider, the misunderstood scapegoat. I was myself, finally, fully. Day 3 brought news from Ethan. She's having a complete meltdown, he said over the phone, half in disbelief, half in amusement. She's screaming at Mom and Dad, blaming everyone for humiliating her. Brian, he cut her off cold. Word got out about the fraud claims, and she's blacklisted. I laughed softly, feeling a mix of vindication and pity. Rebecca, who had thrived on control and manipulation, was unraveling. For years, I had been her silent target. Now, truth and accountability had caught up to her. I realized then that my strength wasn't just in confrontation, it was in letting the evidence speak, standing firm, and refusing to be complicit in my own exploitation. Weeks later, life felt normal for the first time in years. I had a new routine, new spaces that were mine, and boundaries I could trust. Tuscany was no longer a symbol of betrayal. It was a reminder of my autonomy. One morning, standing on a cliffside during a solo hike, wind whipping my jacket, waves crashing violently below, I listened to the silence. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Margaret. We miss you. Rebecca's in therapy. Your father barely speaks. Can't we just go back to the way things were? I laughed, soft but resolute. Back to what? Back to being the silent sponsor of their lifestyle? Back to being mocked and erased? I didn't respond. I let the voicemail linger in the wind, proof that I had no reason to return to that cycle. Then came a letter from Rebecca herself, handwritten. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know I've lost everything. Brian, my job, my friends. Mom says you're happier without us, and I think she's right. But it still hurts. I don't even know who I am anymore. Inside was a check for $7,000, the amount I had originally spent covering the family trip. I stared at it. Not because I needed the money, but because it symbolized accountability, a lesson learned the hard way. I didn't cash it. I mailed it back with one line written on the envelope. You can't buy peace with money. Finally, closure came unexpectedly. Weeks later, I was browsing a bookstore when a woman approached me. Excuse me, she said, holding a toddler. Are you Samantha Reed? I blinked. Yes? She smiled. I think you helped my sister a few years ago with rent. Your family turned on you, and she told me what you did. You showed me what boundaries look like. I just wanted to say, thank you. And just like that, she walked away. My heart hammered, not from drama or conflict, but from the quiet, profound realization that my story, my strength, had echoed beyond my own life. I learned the truth the hard way. You don't owe anyone your destruction. Not for love, not for loyalty, not even for blood. Family isn't defined by who you're born to. It's defined by who respects your boundaries when you say enough. I said it, I meant it, and I never looked back. I am not their ATM, not their scapegoat, not their safety net. I am free, and I will never pay for my own silence again. Weeks had passed since the confrontation, the public fallout, and the letters. My apartment was quiet in a way that felt alive, not empty. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting warm patterns on the hardwood floors. I brewed coffee, the smell grounding me in the small rituals I had reclaimed as my own. Jaden, my 7-year-old son, bounced into the room, backpack swinging, his laugh filling the space. Mom, I made breakfast for you, he said proudly, holding up a slightly crooked stack of pancakes. I smiled, ruffling his hair. They look perfect, just like you. For the first time in years, I felt untethered from obligation. I wasn't responding to manipulations, guilt trips, or endless expectations. My boundaries were solid, my finances safe, and my heart lighter. I had learned the hard way that being the good one in a family didn't mean being the silent provider. I sat with Jaden at the kitchen table, sipping coffee and scrolling through my phone. Not for drama, not for conflict, but to check messages from friends who genuinely cared. There were no texts from Rebecca, no attempts at reconciliation from Margaret, no manipulative nudges from Thomas. The silence was liberating. Later that afternoon, I took a walk along the cliffs overlooking the ocean. The wind whipped my jacket around me, Waves crashed violently below, and I felt a surge of clarity. I was no longer afraid of my own voice, my own choices, or the consequences of asserting them. I had lived under manipulation for too long. Now I thrived in honesty and autonomy. A stranger approached me, a woman with a toddler in her arms. She smiled warmly. "Are you Samantha Reed?" she asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. She nodded. "I just wanted to thank you. You helped my sister once, years ago. She told me about what you did, and you showed me what boundaries and strength look like. I wanted to say, thanks." Her words lingered in the wind as she walked away. For the first time, I realized my strength echoed beyond my own life, rippling quietly, changing someone else's understanding of courage and boundaries. I thought about the $7,000 check Rebecca had sent me, the one I had mailed back with the simple truth: you can't buy peace with money. That lesson had been mine to learn, and now I carried it without resentment, only clarity. Family isn't just about blood, it's about respect, honesty, and mutual care. I had been silenced for years, painted as difficult for protecting myself, and yet now I was free. I wasn't an ATM, a scapegoat, or a shield for others' misdeeds. I was myself, fully, uncompromisingly, and alive. I looked out over the ocean, Jaden at my side, the wind carrying the scent of salt and possibility. And for the first time, I understood the weight of real freedom. I am Samantha Reed. I am free, and I will never pay for my own silence again.